All right, guys. So Elon Musk, the wealthiest man on the face of the planet, the owner of Twitter, obviously, has recently become just a full-throated right-wing sycophant for Trump. Now, if you look at his timeline on his own feed on Twitter, all he talks about nowadays is like great replacement theory, birth rate collapse, and how the woke mind virus is going to destroy Western civilization. That's about where he's at right now politically. And so he recently made an appearance at a Trump rally where Trump revisited the Butler, Pennsylvania site of the attempted assassination against Trump. And let's just go ahead and watch a couple of clips here, pictures of what Elon looked like. We'll listen to a little bit of his speech and get into a little bit more of the background here. So here we have Elon walking out to the crowd here, obviously. He does a little jump in the air, and then I think he does a second jump. There it is, a second jump in the air, almost as if he's a toddler of sorts. I don't know what's going on with that little jump that he likes to do, but there he is. He takes the microphone. We have a couple more images here. Oh, I don't know what.
Watch me twirl.
Whoops.
Daddy, watch. Daddy.
Whoops, I don't know who put that there. But yeah, we also have some images here from Elon jumping in the air, ecstatic. As you can see, Trump sort of looking behind himself, maybe wondering what's going on, why he's behaving like this. But there's an image of what it actually looked like. Now, here we have Elon and a little bit of what he had to say when he got in front of the microphone. Let's go ahead and listen to some of this.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Well, first of all, I want to say what an honor it is to be here. And, you know, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight! Blood coming down the face. Now, America is the home of the brave. And there's no truer test than courage under fire. So who do you want representing America? Yeah, absolutely. And I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively. You got 14 states now that don't require voter ID. California, where I used to live, is just passed a law banning voter ID for voting. I still can't believe that's real. So how are you supposed to have a proper election if there's no ID? It's just meaningless. And free speech is the bedrock of democracy. And if people don't know what's going on, if they don't know the truth, how can you make an informed vote? You must have free speech.
Okay, so there's a little snippet of what he had to say there. Now, seems like there were three core main points that he wanted to make. Number one is that Trump is the free speech warrior. Number two is that he's going to protect your Second Amendment rights to own guns. And number three is that he's actually the pro-democracy candidate. Now, if you guys didn't see, Jon Stewart had a pretty good monologue a few days ago, I think it was last Monday, where he broke down some of the most egregious lies promoting Donald Trump. I think he covered Trump being pro-worker, Trump being pro-free speech, and a few other ones as well. But let's just try to understand this. Let's try to unpack this here for a second. Trump is a free speech warrior. Now, do Democrats or liberals have issues when it comes to censorship? Sure, absolutely. I'd be willing to have that conversation. But the idea to me that Trump is some sort of a free speech warrior, this is the same Donald Trump who said that people who burn an American flag, something that has been upheld as a free speech right for Americans by the Supreme Court, even by extremely right-wing Supreme Court justices, he said that people who burn the American flag should be jailed. This is the same Donald Trump who's saying that pro-Palestine protesters on college campuses should be deported, not just arrested, but deported out of the country, right? Don't know how that really makes sense given the fact that a vast majority of them are Americans, but this is the same Donald Trump who sued people like Bill Maher when he told a joke about Trump. This is the same Trump that said that the government should consider taking away the licenses for ABC after he had a poor debate performance in the first debate against Kamala. Guys, The idea that Trump is pro-free speech is just absolute lunacy. It's nonsense to anybody who has listened to what Donald Trump has said over the last number of years since he's gotten involved in politics. He is just as, if not more, anti-free speech than the worst case scenario of any Democrat you want to point to, right? That's the reality about Trump. So again, if you have a criticism of Democrats being pro-censorship, fine, let's have that conversation. But the idea that Trump is a free speech warrior, what the fuck are we talking about? Now, in terms of the, Second Amendment rights, guys, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, both of them are gun owners, first of all. They're not even running on like serious broad scopes gun reform. They're talking about just basic common sense gun laws that a vast majority of the country is already in favor of and has wanted for a very long time at this point. They're not going to go marching into people's guns or people's houses and taking away their guns. This is not something that's going to happen. We're talking about reforms around the edges so that maybe it's not so easy for somebody to walk into a Walmart and get an assault rifle and then to walk into a classroom and start obliterating children. Like maybe let's do some basic things to try to lessen the likelihood of something like that happening. Background checks, red flag laws. Let's have a waiting period. Let's make sure that people who buy guns are trained and know how to use them and how to use them safely, right? Just basic shit like that. So the idea that, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris are going to obliterate the Second Amendment, not true. Number 3, voting rights. Democracy. Huh? Democracy? Now, granted, I've made plenty of videos in the past about how Democrats, especially within their own party, now granted, this isn't the critique that Elon Musk has, but it's a critique that I've made that within their own party, Democrats are extremely undemocratic. Look at what they did to Bernie in 2016 and in 2020, and then look at how they handled the Democratic primary for 2024, right? There basically wasn't a real Democratic primary, even though Joe Biden, the candidate who they forced through, didn't even end up being the candidate at the end of the day. He had to step down because of his cognitive issues. But they erased the Democratic primary in 2024. So Democrats do have undemocratic qualities for sure, right? I've outlined that plenty of times before. But hang on a second. We're talking about the same Donald Trump who tried to literally overturn the last election? The same fucking guy who egged on January 6th. There was just new reporting, by the way, that came out from the Jack Smith case against Donald Trump, which unfortunately is not going to be taking place before the election, but he knew that he lost the election. He created fake slates of electors, right? He egged on his supporters to go and riot at the Capitol building for what purpose? Well, to stop the certification of the election results. That same Donald Trump is the defender of democracy. Still to this day, he won't accept that he lost the 2020 election. Not to mention the plethora of various anti-democratic voting laws and restrictions and purges that Republicans do in conservative states all across the country, all the time. Again, it's like every single pro-Trump argument that I hear from these people, whether it's Elon, whether it's other right-wing pundits, whether it's elected Republicans, whether it's Fox News, the pro-Trump arguments are all just patently ridiculous at face value. If you want to make a case that, well, I believe in lower taxes for corporations and the wealthy, and I believe in trickle-down economics or something, okay, fine. Make that case if you still want to at this point. But to say that Trump is anti-war, to say that he's pro-free speech, to say that he's the pro-democracy candidate, I mean, it's anti-reality. It's anti-reality is what it is. So there you go. There was Elon Musk making his case for Trump. Now, I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze Elon Musk, but I'll let Trump do a little bit of it here for us. This was a tweet from, I forget how long ago this was. This was back from 2022, so 2 years ago at this point. Donald Trump posted this. He said, and this was at the time, I believe, when Elon was either anti-Trump or more pro-Ron DeSantis. I can't remember exactly how it played out, but Trump was upset with him, so he posted this. When Elon Musk came to the White House asking me for help on all of his many subsidized projects, whether it's electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, fair enough, or rocket ships to nowhere, without which subsidies he'd be worthless, true, and telling me how he was a big Trump fan and a Republican, I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. Hard to disagree with Trump's analysis there of Elon Musk. This was just a couple years ago. Now, again, gives you a little bit of an insight in terms of Elon Musk and Trump's psychology, both at the same time. I think that part of the reality of Elon Musk is that despite his, insistence to the contrary, he is a deeply insecure person who requires an immense amount of attention and praise, kind of similar to Trump in that way, in order to maintain his ego. And so when liberals or when the left sort of started to turn against him, he immediately fell into the open arms of reactionary white nationalists and the Republican Party broadly, because they're the ones who are clapping like seals for him, right? They are the ones who are devoted to him, who will get on their knees for him, right? And so I think that's part of the reason maybe why he's leaning into right-wing politics. Maybe it's also just that's what he believes in now. But it also, again, gives you an insight into Trump. Because if you even have a whiff about you that you're critical of Trump in any way, shape, or form, he'll say this kind of shit about you. But the second that you say, I'm pro-Trump, I'm MAGA, I'm dark MAGA, as Elon was saying in that clip, now suddenly he's your biggest fan. Trump loves you, right? You're a great man who's sending us up into space. You're going to take us to Mars, right? I mean, it's a perfect demonstration of both of these guys at the same time. Now, a little bit more here in terms of Elon Musk, his political ideology, as well as his ownership of Twitter. Here posted by Evan. Here's a little timeline. Elon claimed that X/Twitter, we're calling it Twitter, must be politically neutral. That's part of the main reason why he said that he bought Twitter in the first place, is because he said it was biased against conservatives, right? It had a left-leaning bias to it. So he says it must be politically neutral. Here's what he said exactly. He posted this, 2 years ago. For Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral, which effectively means upsetting the far right and the far left equally. How did that turn out? Now, he also said his own speech is separate from X/Twitter's. He then used Twitter to steal someone's username. More on that here in a second. And then he gave the username to his personal Republican PAC and used the Twitter algorithm to boost it. Guys, this is an insane story here. I think that it was Matt Binder here who pointed it out, and he has a whole, Substack article about this on his account. But he says, over the weekend, Twitter took the @America handle from the original user. They just stole it, who registered it. The handle now belongs to Elon Musk and his super PAC and is set to support Donald Trump. Now, this is just one example of Elon sort of betraying this Twitter should be politically neutral kind of sentiment that he began with. But I don't know if you guys use Twitter nowadays. I basically at this point only use it because I need it to gather news and information that I can bring to you guys for my own channel. That's the only reason I'm still on Twitter. But since Elon Musk took over Twitter, it has become a complete right-wing cesspool. Okay, my For You page, even though I don't follow or really interact with at all any of these accounts, it'll be like, Ian Miles Strong, Cat Turd, Elon Musk about 10 times in a row. It is all right-wing accounts popping up in my For You page, even though I basically only engage with left-wing accounts on Twitter, right? In terms of getting information and where I'm liking and retweeting things. And yet that's not what my For You page looks like, because Elon Musk has reoriented Twitter to boost right-wing content. And not just like right-wing content in the like Mitt Romney sense of the word, but in many instances, explicit, racist, white nationalist, and sometimes explicitly Nazi shit. And when I say Nazi shit, I'm not just talking about like, oh, anything Republicans say is Nazi shit. I'm talking about like, Hitler Lover 1488 is the account handle, and then he's posting a picture of Hitler, right, in a positive light, and saying the bad guys won World War II. And it'll have like 150,000 likes. That's the kind of shit that has become normal on Twitter now under Elon Musk. And so, it's basically become almost unusable at this point, right? So I think he's destroyed the platform basically entirely. I haven't seen him really bring anything positive to the platform under his ownership. And I'm not just talking about politically, but also like logistically. It doesn't seem like he's solved any of the underlying problems. One of the other main things that he said that he wanted to fix was the issue of bots. There are more bots popping up in my DMs, popping up under my tweets and everywhere on the site than ever before. There was some analysis that was done actually of Elon Musk's personal Twitter account, where he now has over 200 million followers. And they found that like a vast majority of the people who are following him are just bot accounts. They're people who have 0 followers, who have never tweeted before, who the only person they follow is Elon Musk. It's just been a complete shit show from top to bottom since he took over Twitter. And so we also have this here that was shared by Anonymous, because Elon Musk is doing something here that might actually be illegal. So here was the original tweet. He says, sign our petition to support the Constitution. Also earn $47 for every person you refer to sign the petition if they're in a swing state. The goal is to get 1 million voters in swing states to show support for free speech and the right to bear arms. So basically, as I point out here, Elon Musk is paying for votes by proxy, right? Likely violating 18 U.S. Code 597, expenditures to influence voting. Whoever makes or offers to make an expenditure to any person, either to vote or withhold his vote, or to vote against any candidate, and who solicits, accepts, or receives any expenditure in consideration of his vote or withholding his vote shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. So, listen, I'm no legal expert, but you're paying people $47 to basically refer other people to try to get them to sign petitions and to register to vote. Huh? Okay, finishing off here, sort of with a broader point from Bernie Sanders, just about campaign finance here in the U.S., because not only is Elon showing up to rallies for Trump and, boosting pro-Trump content and white nationalist content, honestly, all over Twitter, but he's also donating about $45 million a month to the Trump campaign. $45 million a month. He says, if democracy is to survive in the U.S., we need to overturn Citizens United and move to public funding of elections. We need a government that represents all, not just billionaires. And yeah, I mean, this is the broader point. Aside from the personal, ridiculous nature of somebody like Elon Musk, we should not live in a so-called democracy where a handful of billionaires or individual billionaires have essentially an infinite pile of cash that they can dump into super PACs to effectively influence the elections. How much money is spent, not just in the presidential election, but broadly in U.S. politics? I mean, we're talking about billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in each election cycle that is spent mostly by large corporations, billionaires, millionaires, in order to try to, ensure that their preferred pro-corporate candidate ends up winning the election. I mean, this is how U.S. so-called democracy works. We have a system of legalized corruption and bribery. That's how shit works here. Just because we call it lobbying or we call it super PACs or campaign financing doesn't mean that it's not bribery, doesn't mean that it's not corruption. And honestly, this is at the core of every single issue that we face as a country, right? Regardless of what your priority is. If you're on the left, you care about climate change, you care about immigration, you care about, being anti-war, anti-imperialist, if you care about Medicare for all, if you care about getting public funding for schools and eliminating student debt, regardless of what your main priority is, this is at the core of it. It's the fact that we have an entirely corrupted and rotten political system. And it's corrupted and rotten because of how we have structured our economic system. You just can't have a society where a handful of people have more wealth than the bottom half of the country and expect that that is going to produce democratic results or good results in general. It is inevitably going to lead to corruption. So there you have it, guys. I'll leave it off there. I guess it's not surprising at this point that Elon's making public appearances at Trump rallies, but it is just pathetic. And again, highly recommend you guys go and watch that Jon Stewart monologue from last week, because he does a pretty good job of breaking down the pro-Trump arguments, whether it's him being anti-war or pro-free speech or honest or, anti-deep state or whatever the case may be. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. Keep up with what Donald Trump actually does, and I think that'll become pretty clear.
Politic guy has the best politics. Believe me. No one does it like him. Believe me. Everyone is saying